I used to think of myself as a Republican, an Eisenhower Republican. At this point, though, I don't know what it means to be a Republican or a conservative. It seems that extremism is the battle cry of the 21st century, and now the Republican Party is casting off any semblance of moderation and even simple respect for opposing views. Ronald Reagan told us he was a true conservative. He believed in small government and low taxes. Then he bloated the federal government and raised taxes 6 times. What's conservative about that? David Stockman was Reagan's director of the Office of Management and Budget, who famously declared in an interview for The Atlantic entitled "The Education of David Stockman" that, quote, Kemp-Roth, Reagan's 1981 tax cut, was always a Trojan horse to bring down the top rate. It's kind of hard to sell trickle-down, so the supply-side formula was the only way to get a tax policy that was really trickle-down, close quotes. In other words, trickle-down was a ruse to get tax cuts for rich people. That dishonesty created decades of stagnation for middle-class and working people. What's conservative about that? George W. Bush started 2 avoidable wars against countries that did us no harm. Then instead of raising the taxes needed to pay for his wars like every other war president in American history, he drastically reduced taxes, which assured massive debt in the trillions of dollars. What's conservative about that? Then the Tea Partiers came and shut down our government to prevent the raising of the national debt limit. The debt limit was and is about authorizing the issuing of debt instruments so that we can pay for what we've already purchased. Essentially, it's about keeping our word to pay our bills. The Tea Partiers, Republicans all, tried to make us into a deadbeat nation. What is conservative about that? Restrictive voting laws have been enacted in many states to prevent our almost non-existent voter fraud. The effect of these laws is to prevent tens, perhaps hundreds of thousands of legal voters from voting. That's anti-constitutional. So what is conservative about that? Now Chris Kobach, the former flame-throwing Secretary of State of Kansas, who made his bones by railing against non-existent voter fraud, is heading a commission, a fraudulent commission. He and his band of liars and thieves are trying to institutionalize voter suppression, this from the federal level. Be clear that this is yet another Republican Trojan horse, in that the real purpose of the Kobach Commission is to extend the last gasp of control for a vanishing white majority. What's conservative about these pernicious lies of these lying liars? Thank you, Al Franken, for the descriptive words. What's conservative about stripping voting rights from the young, the old, the poor, and those of color? The Republican Party has verbally championed conservatism, but it seems to want to conserve the kinds of things that are at odds with anything that is conservative or even patriotic. Whatever happened to loyalty and justice and the rule of law, the kinds of things that Republicans used to want to conserve? They keep telling us that they're the party of Lincoln, but they do things that Lincoln would have found both abhorrent and illegal. Charlie Crist, former Republican governor of Florida, switched parties, declaring that he didn't leave the Republican Party. Rather, the Republican Party left him. He's right. So are all the other former Republicans like Representative Patrick Murphy and those who throw up their hands in disgust and quit, like former Senator Richard Lugar. Perhaps today's Republican Party needs a new name, the Un-Republican Party. Wait though. We the people keep electing these extremists, so sadly we're getting what we deserve. Perhaps we have to wake up and smell the Constitution. Otherwise we can start calling ourselves we the Un-People. I'm Jack Alshuler.